When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, do this, load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land." You are also directed to tell them, "Do this, take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours." So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them carts as Pharaoh has commanded, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels. That's about 3.5 kilograms of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving, he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way." So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father, Jacob, in the land of Canaan. They told him, "Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt." Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, "I'm convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And Israel does exactly that. He and all his family head off. And by this stage, it's quite a family. They number 66 direct descendants. And that's excluding all his sons' wives, as well as Joseph and his family who are already in Egypt. We hear that as soon as Joseph appeared before Israel, he threw his arms around his father and he wept for a long time. Israel said to Joseph, "Now I'm ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive." It's such a beautiful reunion. We also how thrilled Jacob, remember that he's also called Israel, we hear how thrilled he is to meet not only Joseph, but Joseph's children. It's an unexpected blessing. All of Joseph's family thrive. We read that Israel lived 17 years in Egypt. Then when he realizes that his last days are coming, he speaks to each of his sons. Then he blesses them and tells them that he wants to be laid to rest with his ancestors. Genesis 49 verse 33 says, "When Jacob had finished giving instructions to his son, he drew his feet up into his bed, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people." Joseph and the family take Jacob back to the land of Canaan and they bury him there. It seems like a happy, perfect way to end what started out as a really sad and tragic beginning. But one of the brothers, as they're laying Jacob to rest, realizes that maybe Joseph was just being nice because he wanted to make his father happy. But now that his father is gone, he might want to take revenge on them for what they did. So they send a message to Joseph, saying that just before his dad died, their father asked Joseph to forgive his brothers for their wrongs and having treated him so badly. When their message came to him, Joseph wept. His brothers then came and threw themselves down before him. "We are your slaves," they said. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. I don't have much that I want to add on today. I think that the story speaks for itself and is an affirmation of what we've said earlier this term. Firstly, that God can use whatever circumstance ultimately for your good. Even if someone deliberately puts you into that place to hurt you, He doesn't want us to suffer. But when we do, He can turn their evil into something beautiful. Don't be afraid. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. And then, secondly, forgiveness is often a decision of the head, and the heart follows. We might decide to forgive, and when we do, we might have to decide again and again to keep forgiving. This might be because anger boils back up in our hearts, or like in Joseph's circumstance, the situation changes. But like Joseph, we need to stick with forgiveness. For he stayed in Egypt along with all his father's family. He lived 110 years. That's a long time to mend the broken bridges and to live with peace and hope rather than pain and resentment in your heart. May we also in our lives choose the path of peace over and over again. Amen.